Yo, what is up, everybody? Strasco back again with another tale from the series titled The Shadow Dies Loudly, written by T.L. Oberhu. Remember to use the links in the description, show love to the author, like, comment, and subscribe. Story 7, Wendigo, Nebraska. The townsfolk made sure the fur trader suffered a painful death, one that matched his crimes against humanity. They tied each limb to a stake in the ground and slathered them in a mix of deer blood and honey. That night, as they mourned his victims, his screams signaled that the beasts of the forest were consuming him, as they intended. A fitting end for a cannibal. As years turned to decades, and decades turned to centuries, the town grew into your typical American neighborhood, and the current residents turned a dreadful series of murderers into an urban legend, and then surrendered the urban legend to the void, forgotten history. The pain those families endured, seeing the remnants of their siblings, their spouses, their children, reduced to faceless and nameless pieces of flesh in a stew pot, forgotten. The town became your typical American town, almost picturesque in its rows of pastel houses, white picket fences, and perfect nuclear families of a husband and a wife, and a son, a daughter, and a dog. The town was the American dream, but for Zoe Hubel, he was about to wake up from the dream and land herself into a night terror. Zoe Hubel sat on the same bench as she always did and ate her lunch. The same thing she always ate every day since she started working at Randy's Market. She would then, like every day, go back to the cash register and stock some shelves, clean the floors, and ride her bike home to her parents' pastel house, picket fence. She did this routine every day since school ended, and then she would go back to school for 8 months and go back to Randy's Market. The cycle started at age 13, and Zoe's eyes did not see an end in sight. Zoe was 18, but there was something strange, something arcane that told her this wasn't the 5th year. This wasn't any year. This was outside of time and reasoning, a literal realm of hell. Zoe knew that this was just a bit of anxiety mixed with an odd imagination. The thing is, that almost made it worse. She lived in the terrible and boring reality, instead of some terrible yet exciting one found in the many science fiction paperbacks found on the shelf in a room that was on the verge of collapse from the sheer weight it was bearing. There were no time loops or other dimensions invading, no hyper-advanced alien race hell-bent on humanity's enslavement. No dark magic, just a lonely teenager stuck in a town that doesn't even know, doesn't care. A hell that didn't torture through pain, but through the sheer weight of mundane and trivial bullshit that Zoe faced on a daily basis. The men with blotchy red skin and beer bellies flirting with her as she scanned their groceries. The shrewd and shrill woman berating her over a coupon that they both know expired 3 months ago. The bratty fat little boys destroying the store while their mothers pretended they didn't hate their sons. The hypergamous teenage girls that would blatantly try their hardest to reel in a grown man to pay for their desires, then rat them out as perverts when the money stopped flowing into their bank accounts. Zoe wasn't sure if it was better or worse to be as distant as possible to these people. On one hand, their entire lives, each person's entire being, was a caricature, a sarcastic mockery of what they should have been. To be like them, to surrender any chance of fulfillment. On the other hand, Zoe truly alone, like a crash-landed human on an alien planet. There was no one else like her, which sadly wasn't even a compliment to anyone, let alone Zoe. Which was worse, to be stuck in the endless cycle of disgusting habits and work, to be a greasy cog in a machine that would run just fine if one of the greasy cogs hung itself in a drunken stupor over its marital problems, or to be mindful of the outside of the world and the inner space within her own mind, yet with no one to share that knowledge with, to be a silent ghost in a house full of degenerates that are too stupid and strung out to know that this place is haunted? And she'd rather be pointless but belong, or self-aware but deserted. One day, or on a day that could have been any day of the week as far as Zoe was concerned, she was dealing with a line of grocers, a line where all the men looked the same and all the women looked the same. A seemingly endless parade of rude comments and poor life choices. The time of day wasn't relevant. Perhaps it was dark out for a sunny day, or a bright night midnight moon. It didn't matter. Who cares anyway? The line ended, and Zoe began to perform the end of shift ritual, when she stopped due to a voice that manifested out of somewhere unbeknownst to her. You do know I'm here, right? Zoe didn't really know how to react in front of this beautiful boy. She was genuinely taken back by him. Do I know you? Do you know everyone who shops here? I'm sorry, you don't need to apologize. It's a joke. Zoe let out a nervous laugh, scanned his items. Thank you very much, Zoe. I don't remember telling you my name. You didn't, unless your name tag is lying. Have a nice night, mister. Just call me Nick. Sounds weird to hear the word mister. Nick left the store, but his image stayed in Zoe's mind for days. Zoe woke up like she always did, with one thing different. She knew what day it was. It was Thursday. The air felt different. Her breakfast tasted different. Her shift was less mundane and boring. The next day wasn't so bad either. The day after, that wasn't awful. And the day after that one seemed better than usual. Zoe was stocking the shelves when she saw Nick again. She said hello, and they played the typical song and dance for a few more weeks, so they started hanging out after Zoe got off of work. Zoe learned that Nick had lived here, this awful town, all his life. Nick tended to stay inside and play video games or watch TV. He used to be fairly unmotivated. Then his brother disappeared. It destroyed his family. Nick saw his parents turn into husks, shells of their former selves. I figured since they were down to one son, I'd try to be less of a loser. He took his health more seriously, finished high school, and enrolled in the local community college. More important than anything else, however, was his newfound life purpose. Look, I know for a fact that my brother Dustin was kidnapped, and it's been 3 years. Sure, he's dead. As fucking terrible as it is to say, I have this gut feeling. Hey, look at me. Don't say that shit. You don't know that. I feel like I do though. And maybe he's better off dead than in some weirdo's basement or some shit. Maybe he's not. Then where is he? Mars. Mars? Yep. Maybe aliens saw that he wasn't like the rest of these assholes in this town. Took him away to go have adventures through the galaxy. Nick couldn't help but smile at this little dork. Well, I guess we should join him one day, huh? Oh, really? Yep. I think we should drive to whatever the fuck out of here. Just be gone. I'll work 2 jobs and put you through some big fancy college. You'll graduate with some big fancy science degree. And one day, you'll build a city on Mars. And the people there won't be like the people here. They'll be happy and healthy and smart and nice and... Zoe embraced Nick right there. It was her first kiss. His too. Zoe was pretty sure she was in love with him that day at Randy's market. She was pretty sure when time itself started to make sense again, and right now, in this eternal present moment, as their lips touched, she knew for certain. Zoe and Nick spent the summer in a state of bliss. It seemed as if Zoe awoke from the hell of the mundane and entered a true sense of life. That would dissolve into pure horror soon enough, but in this current state, unaware of the dark secret of the town, she was happy. This happiness would die a sudden death at the movie theater one night. Zoe and Nick walked out, hand in hand, when they heard a crash and a scream. They looked at each other in astonishment. They followed the ghost of the noise to the alley behind the theater, where they just missed the victim being pulled into the back door of Porky's butcher shop. However, they did see the door slam shut, and the lone gym shoe on the ground. Upon closer inspection, they also saw droplets of blood. They both knew this was something out of a cheap horror movie. Zoe, knowing they witnessed a terrible crime, wanted to get as distant as possible. Nick was struck with a hunch, an intuition that chilled him to the bone. Nick grabbed the back door handle. It was unlocked. Zoe grabbed him, communicating without saying a word not to go in there. Nick wasn't going to listen. He was going inside. Sneaking down the dark hallway with Zoe in tow, the sounds of machinery whirring flooded into place. The end of the hallway led to a large open spot where the couple witnessed the alley's victim's flesh being separated from the bone. The butcher was too busy enjoying his work to notice the pipe-wielding Nick, and was too busy having his brains decorate the wall to fight back. The police questioned Nick and Zoe at the butcher shop, then took both into the station and placed them in separate rooms. Nicholas Poloski, I'm afraid it's hard to understand your story. I already explained it. Well, we heard the kid yelling and we went in to investigate and tried to save him. All I hear is 2 punks broke into an established business and killed a man trying to make a living. Nick stared in horror. You knew about this shit, didn't you? Paul Orcaisi was a respected member of the community. He supplied good cheap meat to Randy's market, the families in this town. Fucking knew. We did. Part of who we are, Nick. Just how things work. I feel like you should know, before you die, that I personally hate your brother's heart. The sheriff wasn't smiling for too long. Nick gave a fierce headbutt, knocking the heavy-set man over. You mother... The sheriff didn't have time to regret not handcuffing Nick. Before Nick jammed the table leg into his eye, he was thinking of sinking his teeth into Nick's veiny forearms. They would be great on the grill, maybe after marinating them in my aunt's pineapple preserves, was the main thought going through his mind. However, currently, the only thing going through his mind was about 5 inches of steel. Nick grabbed the dead man's pistol and shot his way to where they were keeping Zoe. The twisted little town didn't have many cops, let alone all at the station. The 2 dead ones in the lobby died quickly. The one with Zoe, who was envisioning after he would butcher her, he would keep just her ass as a little plaything until it rotted. He died a very painful death once Nick entered the room. The couple stole a car, drove off, and never looked back. Zoe, despite living through the absolute worst day of her life, realized something as they crossed the state line, far away from that cesspool. She, technically free. She used to be in a literal hellscape. She crawled out of that river of sick, and to say she would start anew would be only half-truth. It would be as if she would be born into a whole new world, about to begin a whole new life. With some help, of course. The citizens of the Martian colony, Dustinville, made sure the one in charge of waste management suffered a painful death, one that matched his crimes against humanity. They pushed him outside the airlock without a suit, leaving him to the dreadful fate of suffocation and freezing at the same time. That night, as they mourned his victims, his corpse was collected by the maintenance drones. His body would be processed and turned into fertilizer for the Dustinville crops. A fitting end